Good morning, everyone. We're going to be starting our service this morning by singing "Come, Come, Whoever You Are." And what I think we're gonna split. It's kind of a round. So what we'll be doing is we'll sing this. There we go. We'll be starting with this. It goes. Can I get the note? So it's, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000. That's how that starts. And we'll have everybody start there. And then maybe if the back of the room could keep that up. And then we're going to go into the song, which a lot of people know. If you don't, it's hymn number 118, I think, in your 188 in your hymnals, in your great hymnals. And then we'll do the "Come, Come, Whoever You Are," and we'll have everybody start. But then at one point, the second time through, we'll have just this side of the room start with the "Come, Come, Whoever You Are," and then you guys be quiet at first, and then I'll bring you in when it's time for you to come in. So it's a round. Okay, here we go. Ready. Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows, and you can keep that on in the back. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are. Come, come, whoever you are. Of despair. Come,
The words for our call to worship this morning are from H.P. Rivers. Meet me at the altar of banned books. Blanket fort sanctuary, we will dance to a chorus of children's laughter. Meet me in the joy, the sorrow, beneath the rainbow banner. Bring your questions, cares, concerns, and bring the glitter in your pocket, and the sparkle in your smile, and bring your heavy heart, your favorite mug, your very best swear words. Set down your bravest face and meet me in the heartbeat, that space between what has been and what will be. Meet me in the flicker of our eternal flame, because we need not face this moment alone. So as we begin our service, we take a moment to acknowledge the land we rest upon, traditional land of the Duwamish people, stewards of this land in the past and present, to which we owe great gratitude. Let us center ourselves here. And whoever you are, wherever you have come from, whatever the color of your skin, whoever and however you love, however your body moves and your brain works, however you identify, you are welcome in this faith community. Our Unitarian Universalist tradition has no test of faith, no creed or oath to swear. We have instead the promises that we make to one another and our commitments to healing a hurting world within and beyond these walls. So welcome, everyone.
Good morning. I'm Amy Schiefelbein, a worship associate filling in for Ellen Maycomb this morning. Joined by Reverend Carter Smith, it is good to be together for this service celebrating LGBTQ History Month. If you are with us for the first time or the first time in a while, we are especially glad to have you. If you haven't already, please scan the QR code in the pew to fill out our welcome form, looks like this, and sign up for our newsletter, the West Side Week. The chalice is the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist heritage. May its heat energize us for the work that is ours to do. May its light make our vision clear and bright. May its warmth comfort us always. This morning, as we light this flame, we mark this time as sacred time. We mark this space as sacred space. Our chalice lighter today is Ryan Cowdery. Would you please come forward? Now, as Ryan lights our chalice, please join me in speaking the words of our congregation's affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship. Thus do we covenant one another. Now let's take a moment to greet our neighbors around us. Last time Liz said I was almost pushing this ladder, and so she came over just to the chair. That would be so neat. Lean back. It's lovely to see all these conversations. I hope you will continue them downstairs at coffee hour. As is our community tradition, our chalice lighter has been asked to respond to a prompt so we can get to know them better. Ryan has been asked to offer a piece of poetry that is meaningful to them.
Good morning. The poem I chose is by Kai Chang Tom from her book, Falling Back in Love with Being Human, Letters to Lost Souls. To the ones this world was never made for. I've never worried about dying. It's the world we live in that I fear, and all the things I might have to see before it ends. The things that people do to one another and the things I might do to others. I read in a book that when lightning strikes a person, it leaves Lichtenberg figures on their skin, scars in the shape of electric currents. The lightning still lives inside them, and sometimes it changes their personality. Sometimes it causes phantom pains and memory loss, the uncontrollable spasming of limbs. Sometimes it grants mysterious gifts, like a genius talent for playing piano, or the ability to foretell the weather. think this is what violence does to the soul. The other day, I watched a stand-up comedy special in which the comedian told joke after joke about how trans people are apparently harming our allies and our own by fighting for our human rights. It wasn't very funny, but it did make me cry. As I listened to the comedian, I could feel the violence still burning in the place where it entered my soul, and I could hear where the violence had entered his. He says he doesn't hate people like me, and I believe him, but hate has almost never been the reason that humans hurt humans. Fear is. I spend a lot of time these days thinking about the kind of person I want to be and all the courage it will take to get there. Today I looked inside the ocean of my sadness and found a volcano of anger there. The lava said, "I am the courageous part of love." Where in the body does courage call home? The same place where lightning lives. Cours is Old French meaning heart. Rage is also Old French meaning fury. What does that tell us about what it means to be brave? Choosing love is a practice. Every day it takes all my strength. Still, I believe in this body, this soul, this fallible flesh that still burns with wanting. Somewhere, after the lightning strikes, there will be a world for us. When I was thinking about what to choose today, I went back and forth what kind of vibe I wanted to do. But I chose this because it hit the mix of joy and anger and sorrow that I feel these days. We all have lightning scars, some more than others. Some of us wear our lightning like a badge of honor, a sign of survival. I think of that when I think of what queer fashion means, what it means to be a lightning rod, to attract the violence of others, to make choices that say, I'm here, I know your violence may be coming, and I am facing it with joy and love and courage and power. Some people soothe their scars with the balm of community. It's so valuable to be the vitamin E fortified shea butter that you wish you had when you got your scars. How can we soothe the lightning in our spirits? How can we live in a way that is courageous and kind, protective and proactive? Because some people do not know they have been scarred by lightning. They do not see their own pain and violence. If you had asked me 10 years ago, I would have said there were fewer lightning strikes today. But now, it's time to be courageous, to love, to burn. Someday there will be a world made for us. Thank you.
I invite you all to rise in body or spirit as we sing our opening song, which is called Light Comes as a Rainbow. And John's going to play it through before it was written by a UU composer who is identifies as queer and is has written quite a few wonderful songs for us. So, and John will play it all the way through.
Thank you, Scott Farrell and the West Side Chorale. It's now time for our all ages, which will be led by Rick Taylor today. Anyone of any age who wishes to see or hear better, please come down to sit in the front or on the pews. After our story, children and youth will be invited to join today's religious exploration program, where they will talk about their pets and bless the animal companions in their lives.
Sowing the Rainbow, the story of Gilbert Baker and the rainbow flag. In a small town in Kansas, where everything was gray and dull and flat, there was a little boy who was full of color and sparkle and glitter. His name was Gilbert. Gilbert loved visiting his grandmother's clothing store. He'd sit next to her while she sewed, and he would draw beautiful gowns and costumes. Gilbert dreamed of someday bringing these drawings to life. But one day, his father took away his art supplies and tore up his drawings. Surrounded by building blocks and erector sets, sports gear, and slingshots, Gilbert's colorful, sparkly personality started to fade, and he too became gray and dull and flat, just like the Kansas landscape. When I grow up, he dreamed, I'll go somewhere that's filled with color. But that didn't happen. Instead, when Gilbert turned 18, he received a letter that knocked every bit of sparkle out of him. Gilbert hated his dull, flat uniform, and he refused to shoot the gun they gave him. I won't do it, he said. I'm not carrying a gun. They made him do push-ups. They called him ugly names, but Gilbert wouldn't budge. The idea of shooting a gun made him sick. So they sent him to San Francisco, where he would never have to pick up a gun again. The day Gilbert arrived in San Francisco, he saw magic. Instead of the gray, dull, flat landscape of Kansas, there were rolling green hills, the shimmering blue bay, and a cool white fog wafting over the Golden Gate Bridge. Gilbert was home. Finally, he could breathe. He could be his colorful, sparkly, glittery self. He thought about his grandmother's clothing store. He thought about the drawings his father tore up. And he realized he wanted all of that back. So Gilbert taught himself to sew, and he created fabulous costumes, just like the ones he drew as a little boy. Word got out fast. He sewed regalia for Mama Jose and her imperial court. He sewed costumes for famous singers like Sylvester. He sewed banners for protests, marches, and rallies. Gilbert's creations were everywhere. He was making the city more and more colorful by the day. There was just one thing that continued to blemish their beautiful city. It was a symbol that, in Gilbert's community, was a constant reminder of evil. "We need a new logo," his friend Harvey said to him one day. Gilbert had an idea. He bought huge bolts of cotton fabric, buckets of colorful dye, and a lot of thread. Then he gathered up all his friends and got to work. They cut the fabric into long strips, dyed them in big trash cans, and then headed to the local laundromat to rinse and dry the strips. They ironed the creases so the fabric was nice and smooth. Then Gilbert began to sew. They worked until dawn. By the time the sun rose, Gilbert and his friends had created 2 beautiful rainbow flags. But their work wasn't over yet. A flag belongs in the wind, Gilbert said. The big day arrived. A crowd gathered around City Hall. Gilbert held his breath. Would people understand this flags? Up they went. The flags unfurled, flooding the sky with a spectrum of colors. The city radiated with color and sparkle and glitter. And the crowd lit up like gold at the end of a rainbow. Today, the rainbow flag is everywhere, even in the small town in Kansas where Gilbert grew up. Wherever you see a rainbow flag, you'll know it's okay to be your colorful, sparkly self.
Thank you, Rick, for that wonderful story. As our children go to our classes, let's sing As You Go. We will share in our offering a practice of generosity that sustains the work of the congregation. Each month, 1/3 of the undesignated offerings go to a partner in the wider community. For the month of October, our community giving recipient is Pink Haven. The Pink Haven Coalition is a collaborative, trans-led effort that works to create networks of care and safety for trans people and their families in the U.S. who need to flee to more secure locations for housing and healthcare. National and local UU organizations support Pink Haven as they work to provide resources and funds that can help with making a move, providing homestays, and a coalition of hosts and allies in secure locations, of which Seattle, a sanctuary city, is one. In Seattle, Pink Haven has an opportunity to set up a house for trans kin who are relocating to the area if they can cover the costs of utilities and basic needs of the people staying there. We would really like to contribute to this effort and make this a reality. Our average monthly plate donation we make to a partner organization is about $650. If we were able to dig deep and send Pink Haven $1,000 in the month of October, that would make a huge difference to their ability to do this important work at this precarious time. As always, any amount you can give is greatly appreciated. And if you have the extra space and capacity in your home to be a host for a newly arriving evacuee, please let Reverend Carter know so that she can connect you to the local Pink Haven leaders. You can give by cash or check in the baskets that will be passed around shortly. We have envelopes to record your name on those if you would like. To give by text, follow the instructions on the screen. And now please enjoy this gift of music.
So I wanted to give just a little introduction to this. This song, if you happen to live in a household that has young people, this has been probably playing incessantly. It's called Pink Pony Club. And it talks about this young person who was in a small town in Tennessee and just couldn't find herself or themselves there, could not find who they were in this small town. So they decided to pick up and move to Santa Monica. And this is a common thing that happens with young queer people and people say, well, why don't you just stay in your town? Well, there are good reasons, just like our story said, that people tend to congregate in larger towns like Seattle. And they want to be amongst people who are like them, You know, it's very understandable, actually. Or at least understand them well, because everyone is honored as being an individual. So this song will be, the solo will be sung by our own, or formerly our own, Cora Angel, who has now moved up north and is going to church up there with her family. But she loves this song, and she's going to be singing the solo on it, and the entire choir will be singing. And I invite you to just rock out with it and imagine that you are in the Pink Pony Club. And just there's this line that keeps on repeating, I'm going to keep on dancing. Okay.
Of me in LA, and I heard that there's a special
always say thank you for this part, but especially thank you. And Scott, when I came to you so shyly, like, do you think we could do Pink Pony Club? And you said, yeah, of course. So thank you all. And thank you for your generosity. It really means a lot to be able to support the ministries of our congregation as well as Pink Haven. And just a heads up, we're having someone from Pink Haven come and speak with us next month, so we'll get to learn more about it then. Now we will take a moment to make collective space for holding the joys and sorrows of our community. The link to share your joys and sorrows is in our newsletter, and there are paper slips in the entryway. We have a joy from Amy. This was supposed to be shared last time, but there was a glitch in our form. Amy writes, I had the joy of attending a community awards event where my wife, Liz Bucklew, received the BECU Purpose Award for her outstanding commitment to service through volunteering. Of course. It is no surprise to those who know her. Liz gives generously to our church and the wider community in countless ways. Again, Amy writes, I deeply admire her dedication and heart for service, and I'm happy for her to be recognized. And we also have a note from Ursula Ham, who writes, we had such a lovely celebration of Sue Holly's life yesterday. I am so very grateful for the many helping hands to provide everything for the reception afterwards, so we could spend time together resting, processing, and connecting. Ursula writes that after Reverend Carter had me volunteer to organize the reception, I had a fear of failing, and then I felt so supported by everyone. This congregation really is my family. Thank you, Ursula, for your support. Yeah, and we all really miss Sue. So now we come to the time in our service that we do once per month when we honor our joys and sorrows through an embodied ritual. During this time, you will be invited to approach our altar table here from the side aisles, place a stone in one of our water bowls, and return to your seat via the center aisle. As you come forward, you are invited, if you already grabbed a stone or when you pick one up, to take a moment to fill them with your prayerful intention. As you place them in the bowl with the other stones in this community, feel all that you are holding, mingling with the joys and sorrows of this community. And those who are joining remotely, you are invited to participate as well in placing a stone or other object as is accessible to you. And I would ask for an usher to come forward and bring the other stone basket as we get started. Let us begin. Please join me in a moment of meditation as I share these words from Kimmy Floyd Reich. Beloveds, we were never meant to hide in closets, and we were never to be spoken of in whispered corners by a world filled with others afraid of their own reflections. We are here, heirs of a theology that says love is love. The soul is not gendered. Covenants live in hearts, not courtrooms. Laws can be cruel and narrow, but our faith remains wide, widening still more until every child hears their pronouns in liturgies, and every parent of a trans child hears their entire congregation reflect back, "You are not alone," in the face of fear. We have always been here, from pulpits to picket lines, from the ancestors you called heretics, to our kitchen tables where we sat with chosen families, speaking our truths into becoming real. This world may pass bans, overturn laws, rewrite constitutions, threaten us. But our marriages were holy before they were licensed, and our identities were sacred before we had names. Today, again, and every day, we bless those coming out and those staying in. We bless the drag, the transitioning, bless the questioning, bless the kinfolk, bless our chosen families, and bless us all, because we have faced ourselves, loved ourselves, saw ourselves, and we declare we are beauty and goodness with a little bit of rainbow and a lot of heart. We gather now in the wake of efforts to erase, as a sign that we are not so easy to erase, and knowing that we are literally love becoming. We were never meant to hide. We were always meant to blaze. And let us lift up our voices in singing, "There is a Love."
I have been out for 30 years and have held different identities on the LGBTQ spectrum. Every time cultural definitions expand, I find a better way to define myself. This process, I realize, is lifelong. Lately, I have talked more publicly about how I don't see myself as cisgender, This has been a years-long process of questioning and thinking and reading about what it means to be non-binary. Though I have a lot of love and friendship in my life and support for whatever identity, the experience of fear of rejection is so automatic and lives in my body despite having ways to manage that experience. When I leave my little Seattle bubble, I feel this guard around me, wondering if I might find safety. I believe that body reaction is from a history of rejection in many ways, and I cannot separate that from my queer identity. When I was an adolescent in the early 90s, I did not even know there was such a thing as gay. I grew up in a conservative religion and lived a sheltered life, one in which outside influences were not welcome or talked about. Sexual orientation, let alone gender exploration, was not part of the curriculum in school. There were no gay clubs, groups, or internet that I had access to research on. I had very little resources or support. When I finally did come out in my later teens to my family, at that time as a lesbian, I had just finished high school and had a minimum wage job. I lovingly came out to my mom with a letter about my lived experience and a book that would help her understand me better. She threw the book away and said I could only continue to live at home if I chose to be straight. To be true to my identity, I left my home within a day with no place to go and a low-paying job. For a couple of years, I received hate messages and mail from my dad with Bible verses about how I was going to burn in hell and the wrath that awaited me if I continued my lifestyle. As a result, I went no contact with my family for many years. For years after that, I dealt with the reverberations of emotional and financial instability, and thankfully, over time, I gradually became more stable. And I know this story is not just mine. Though in our UU world, many of us are accepting and loving of a variety of identities, this continues to happen, and trans folks especially are at risk. One of the things that was really impactful to me was meeting who I call my adoptive family. When I stopped contact with my biological family, my girlfriend's parents instantly took me under their wing. Eventually, they referred to themselves as mom and dad. It was refreshing to have parent figures who stepped in and saw how wrong it was that I was treated that way. My partner and I eventually broke up, but her parents said to me, "We would like to keep you." It was such a loving gesture for them to continue to offer support and family that I could turn to. And for 32 years now, we have been chosen family to each other. We've spent holidays together, gone on vacations together, and have seen each other through many life phases. And it wasn't always easy. I think about the ripple effect of the sense of community and connection I felt with my chosen family and how it has been like a balm to my soul, knowing I had some place to belong. And with that, I was able to take that into the world and do the work I do now with queer and trans folks. For the last several months, I have pondered a famous quote by German theologian and Lutheran pastor Martin Niemöller. He writes about his silence during the World War II genocide. "First they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me." I've been observing that it feels overwhelming for folks right now, that there are so many rights being undermined, it's hard to know how to respond to the fear and uncertainty. Trans youth are being denied life-saving gender-affirming care, and there are recent efforts to undermine a ban on conversion therapy. And for those of you who don't know, that's a therapy. It's a terrible therapy meant to change people's sexual orientation or gender identity. It's clear that relying on the government to change or some higher force to intervene is not enough. My chosen family stood by me as powerful allies, offering the kind of support that made all the difference. You may have your own stories of allyship, moments big or small, that reminded you that you were not alone. I believe even the smallest acts of support can create lasting ripple effects. They can help shield us from the unique stress of living as a sexual or gender minority, especially when those identities intersect with other marginalized experiences. There is real strength in coming together and creating spaces grounded in love, safety, and solidarity.
Thank you, Amy, for sharing your story with us. Originally, the plan was for Quinlan Porter, a congregant, to speak today, and they wanted to speak about their love of Oscar Wilde, an important figure in queer history to them, and they're out sick. So I have Rick, who agreed to do a reading about a different figure in queer history, just so we can get a little taste of that. It's not the same reflection, but I'm so grateful that you're stepping in, Rick. Thanks.
A short story from queer Unitarian history. In the 19th century in Massachusetts, a woman named Anne Whitney had been raised in a family rooted in Unitarian community. Her parents believed in education, equality, and justice, and this helped shape her values. She grew up to be an accomplished artist who gained recognition as a professional sculptor, a rarity for women in her day. As an example of the gender norms she was up against, there is the story of the Charles Sumner statue. Sumner, a fellow Unitarian, U.S. Senator, and prominent abolitionist, was being honored by the city of Boston with a statue commissioning. A contest was held for the design of the statue, which Anne Whitney won. But when the selection committee learned that the winner was a woman, they withdrew the award because it would be unbecoming for a lady to sculpt a man's legs. In an awesome act of guerrilla art, Whitney went ahead and made the statue anyway, casting it in bronze and installing it in Cambridge, where it sits today. Through it all, her companion and life partner, Abby Manning, was by her side. At the time, conceptions of sexuality and identity were different from today, and known records do not prove that their relationship was definitely intimate in the way we might think of it. But we know that the way they lived their life defied the conventions and gender expectations of the time. And they formed a same-sex family with one another in a time when women's independence was discouraged. The two shared homes, and letters between them showed deep affection and devotion. They're buried together at Mount Auburn Cemetery in Cambridge. Manning and Whitney and their love for one another speak to us across time because of the ways that they dared to live authentically in a time that offered women few choices. They shared creativity and purpose in making a shared family in their own way. We celebrate them and others like them this LGBTQ History Month.
This morning, I thought I would take the opportunity to share my coming out story, which is overall a happy one. I was 15, and there was a girl at school that I wanted to ask on a date, and it felt important to tell my family first. But that's not actually where the story starts. It actually started with being raised in a radically affirming community. Before I was a teenager figuring things out, I was a preschooler in small town North Carolina, nonetheless, and there was a boy in my class who loved playing with dolls and wearing dresses, and the adults around us made sure we all knew it was fine and not a big deal. And then when I was too young to even remember it, my mom tells me, I was a guest at a same-sex wedding of a teacher. And we had an out gay minister at my church, and when he left, he was followed by an out bisexual minister. And the matriarchs of the congregation was this whole cohort of lesbian grandmas with purple hair. And there were kids at my school with 2 moms. And then this thing called Amendment 1 happened. During the height of the years of campaigning for marriage equality, North Carolina had this awful ballot initiative where citizens got to vote to add an amendment to the state constitution to even more fully ban same-sex marriage. I was devastated that I couldn't vote. But my church was at the forefront of the campaign to connect with voters and ask them to say no. My friends and I spent months after school at phone banks, calling voters and participating in the process in this way because that's what we had the power to do. And sadly, the referendum did pass by a narrow margin, though it was overturned shortly after. But we reached that moment with me knowing that my community had different values. And so, after that, when some peers in my youth group began going through their own gender journeys, and they were struggling with feeling affirmed in their families and at school, our church invited a trans minister to come for the weekend. He gave a sermon on Sunday about understanding gender and what a church can do to be a more inclusive congregation, and this was powerful. But what was most powerful was that he came to the youth group, and he just sat with us in a circle and told his story. He showed us all, and especially those 2 in our group who needed it the most, that there was joy, community, and a purpose-filled life waiting for them on the other side. I'm so grateful that our church did this for them. And in the background of all of this, I was an adolescent who was having my first experiences of attraction and dating. And in many ways, the whole culture around me was sending all these messages about heteronormativity and was making it very clear that queer people had hate and disgust to contend with in the world. That was the broader world, but not my circle, not my community. They blunted the hurt of that and made exploring my identity something a lot less daunting than it could have been. And of course, it was still scary to come out, to tell my family this deeply personal thing about me that might change how they thought of me, how they saw me. But I knew it would be okay, and it was. I share my story because I know how much of a blessing it is. I am grateful that this was my experience. Because even today, as we have spoken about, as Amy shared about, there are so many people who do not have this kind of experience. And just to be clear, those early days were not all glitter and rainbows. I mean, being a teenager is hard, and in that setting, it was hard. The other queer kids at school and I banded together, and we supported each other because they didn't have families that were as accepting as mine. I won't go into detail, but they have religious trauma and all sorts of baggage from those years. And I'm so glad I got to be in community with them. my first girlfriend, that girl I asked on a date, we happily dated for the rest of high school, and she had parents who had told her and her brother in no uncertain terms that they were not allowed to be gay, and they would be disowned if they were. So for that year and a half, we kept it a secret. Eventually, we came out more widely at school, but there was this looming threat of what might happen if her parents found out. In fact, we had an openly homophobic vice principal who went out of her way to actively bully my girlfriend in some really creepy and inappropriate ways. And she didn't have any recourse because she couldn't rely on her parents. It didn't help that our school banned us from starting a gay-straight alliance because they worried it was too controversial. And there was the regular comments from zealous classmates who made sure that we knew what we were doing wasn't in the Bible. So it's complicated, this experience. But all these years later, and today, as we celebrate National Coming Out Day and LGBTQ History Month, I sit in gratitude for my community. And I know that my experience is possible because of the people that came before me. It didn't just happen out of nowhere. When I listen to songs like Pink Pony Club and I hear stories about Gilbert Baker, who sewed the flag, and Ann Whitney in Boston, I think about the power of loving people to be their true selves and create safe spaces for one another. This is what queer history means to me. And I am grateful for all who held us, my parents, my church, my queer friends, and I'm grateful for my girlfriend's best friend's parents, this family that was self-proclaimed rednecks with the camo and the hunting and the trucks, and they had a mud pit in their yard. And this family made sure that we knew that their house was a safe house, and that if my girlfriend was ever kicked out, she had somewhere to go. The mosaic of experiences I'm talking about this morning have shaped me in deep and indelible ways. Initially, I came out as bisexual because it felt descriptive and true of my feelings of attraction to people of different genders. But as time goes on, the word queer has felt more and more right. Though many people do not identify with this word because of its hateful past, I have come to use it because to me it signifies resistance. It means joy despite hate and expansion despite restriction. And also, queerness to me is not just about who I'm into, but the way I orient myself to the world. A living beyond binary, a feeling of kinship and solidarity with all LGBTQIA+ people. And sometimes it's complicated. I sometimes get questions because I am in what appears to be a very standard straight marriage with my husband, Baptiste. I'm a cisgender woman who has built my home with a nesting partner who's a cisgender man. But to truly know me and who and how I am in the world, that's not the whole story. My queerness is with me wherever I go, and it impacts how I move in the world. And it's important to me to listen to the stories of gay, lesbian, bi, and genderqueer elders and ancestors because it helps me to understand my place in it all. And I have this feeling of awe when I think of people who made their homes and families in same-sex or other configurations that were not part of the norm of their day, the people who expressed gender beyond the binary when they had no language to describe who they were and they still did it. And sometimes with very little community support. I think with gratitude of the underground networks, the speakeasies rated by authorities, all those people who insisted on gathering and celebrating and loving even when they were being criminalized. And the brave people during the HIV and AIDS crisis who insisted on their humanity in medicine and policy, who embodied radical love to care for each other when too much death was happening all around them. And I could go on. Queer history is rich. But my queerness, my connection to queer history, has taught me to celebrate persistent joy, to unflinchingly be part of creating safe spaces for others, even in unexpected places, to craft my relationships into shapes that work for me, to choose my family with intention, creativity, and care. And this is work for all of us. No matter our intentions, no matter our identities, there are things that each of us can do to help this. We can honor one another, make safe space, embody family beyond blood. Representation matters, allyship matters, especially these days. We all know the situation we're living in. And so I want to talk about what allyship means, especially for transgender people. And just to start, we live in a time with a lot of good information out there and resources, so you can learn all the basics about like gender and pronouns and vocabulary. The information is there if you want to learn. You can dive deep. We have, in the entryway, we have these booklets that are published by PFLAG exactly on this subject. So please avail yourself of resources if this is a new topic for you. And then there's also a role to play in combating the rhetoric in the world right now. There are people out there every day preaching that trans people are inherently broken or somehow sinister, and we know that this is not true. So please support leaders and policies that are sensitive to this. And most importantly, we have to have allies who treat trans, non-binary, and other gender-expansive people in ways that are affirming and welcoming. That is so, so, so needed in a loud way these days. And we need to understand that times are hard right now. So use correct pronouns, celebrate milestones in transitions, and let the queer people in your life know that they are safe with you. I think allyship has been most important for me as a spiritual commitment, because I know that my life is better because of the trans people in it. They teach me about gender expression in ways that help me break open sexist and patriarchal norms. They teach me about the long and beautiful journey to self-love in the way that they embody that for themselves. And also, because the trans people in my life are also just normal and multifaceted people, they all have unique gifts to them that are just part of the essence of who they are, an inherent wholeness that reaches so far beyond gender. I am grateful that they exist on this earth, and it is important to me that this world treats them with the love that they deserve. So this is our invitation, this LGBTQ History Month, and every month. We all have a role to play in loving more freely, living more authentically, and creating places for safety and joy for and with one another. May we embody radical love this way today and on all days. Thank you so much for being part of this with me.
What a rich day. Yeah. So much music and so many stories and beautiful things. So I invite you all to rise in body or spirit as we sing We Shall Be Known. Many of you will know this, made popular by Mammoose. So it won't be familiar to some of you, but we're going to sing it through twice. So, and we're not going to do, they're not going to play all the way through, so we'll be starting right away, okay? So this is... No. Yeah, it's got first. Take the first. We shall be known. Start again. And one. We shall be known by the company we
Thank you so much, Scott Farrell and the West Side Chorale. Thank you to everybody who participated in this service, including John Hanson, Ronnie Bishop, Cora Angel, Reverend Carter Smith, Rick Taylor, Ryan Cowdery, Nate Mesnard, and Sarah Deppa, and ushers and hospitality. Thank you so much. As always, it is a pleasure and blessing to do this sacred work together. Please take a look at our newsletter, The West Side Week, for details about upcoming events and activities, and I have a few to highlight. We've recently sorted the church books, the church library, and some books are ready to find a new home. Check out the book sale in the social hall today during coffee hour. Anyone interested in learning about Westside UU membership, please join our Becoming a Member session today, hosted by Laura White, Steve Finney, and Reverend Carter at 12 noon. Grab some coffee in the social hall and join us upstairs in the fireside room. Light refreshments are also available. To expand on what we have heard this morning, our third Sunday programming next Sunday will include a small group discussion on being LGBTQ+ at Westside. Jill Jackson will facilitate this conversation, and all are welcome to come and share their story or hold space for the experience of others. And our next Sunday service will be on October 26th, entitled The Vigil We Keep, and Reverend Carter Smith and Worship Associate Rick Taylor will be holding that service. We will build, we will build an altar to honor our ancestors and share a memorial slideshow to recognize loved ones. And just a reminder to submit photos to the West Side office if you would like to. Details are available in the West Side Week.
Please rise in body or spirit one more time. We close here with the same words we started with from H.P. Rivers. I'll invite Ryan to release our flame. We release this flame, but we turn toward one another still. Meet me in the heartbeat between what has been and what will be. Meet me in the flicker of our eternal flame. We need not face this moment alone. So may you go into this week blessed and blessing the world. We hold you in our love as you go.
We're singing this instead.